Welcome to this month's edition of Inside the World of TCR, our monthly trip around the TCR universe. In episode 4 we'll bring you up to date with TCR Europe and TCR Asia, plus the national TCR series in Germany, Russia, the UK and the USA. We'll also have a one-to-one interview with Attila Tashi. Stay with us. In front of a massive crowd of 50,000 spectators, mid-August saw TCR Europe visit the Temple of Motorcycling, the TT circuit at Assen in the Netherlands, for rounds 9 and 10. Josh Files and his Hell Energy Racing Honda Civic set the fastest lap in qualifying. However, it was the Leopard Lukoil team's Audi RS3 LMS of Jean-Carl Venet that started race 1 from pole. The Brit was demoted to 4th, thanks to a penalty that was the consequence of an incident during the previous event at the Hungaroring. After the sprint away from the grid, Venet kept the lead from Nage, Files, Richard, Comini and Potti, who made a slow start from second on the grid. Going into turn 5, Loris Cenchetti went off after making contact with Mikel Azcona. 5 laps into the race, and this superb duel for the lead took place, with Nage and Venet side by side. At the end, it was the Hungarian who managed to overtake the 2017 TCR International champion. Venet would then keep the pressure on Nage throughout the rest of the race, but without success. Seven laps into the race, and Chris Richard pushed Josh Files from behind, managing to pass him for third. Behind the pair, Stefano Comini managed first to overtake Attila Tashi for 5th, and then Files for 4th, with the Brit struggling after that contact with Richard. From the replay, you can clearly see the contact between the Hyundai and the Honda. For Files with a damaged car, there was no reason to defend from his teammate Attila Tashi, who easily took 5th from him. Two laps later, and possibly hindered by his teammate, Files was also overtaken by the Volkswagen Golf of Maxime Potti for 6th. There was bad luck for former WTCC race winner Peter Terting, who's joined Autodis Racing by Piro Sports for the remaining events of the 2018 TCR Europe series, but who retired after completing only 10 laps. 13 laps into the race, and first Stian Paulsen and then Mikel Azcona overtook Josh Files for 8th and 9th. The Spaniard is one of the contenders for the title. Each additional point could be crucial for the season finale in Barcelona. Another contender for the title is Target Competition's Dusan Borkovic. This was the move that allowed him to overtake Maxime Potti for 6th on the last lap. But this was the first win of the season for Danny Nage, and a huge step forward in the drivers' standings. Second place for a very frustrated Jean-Carl Venet, while Chris Richard was third. After a string of bad luck, the 2015 and 16 TCR International champion Stefano Comini finally showed good pace, managing to finish 4th. Tashi was 5th and Borkovic 6th. For the Mira Racing team and Danny Nage, it was time to celebrate after a perfect race. Norway's Stian Paulsen in his Cupra made good use of the pole position in the second race, while Julien Brichet in his Peugeot 308 starting second was completely overwhelmed by other competitors, among them Attila Tashi, who started 5th but was already 3rd going into turn 1. Into turn 3, Mikel Azcona managed to overtake Paulsen for the lead. The group arrived together into turn 4, and thanks to a gentle tap, Tashi managed to take second from Paulsen, and a few corners later, first from Azcona. There was a dramatic turn of events on lap 3 when race 1 winner Danny Nage stopped on the outside of the first corner. With no way to restart thanks to engine failure, there was 0 points scored for the championship contender. What's more, with the Hyundai stopped in a dangerous position, the safety car was deployed to allow the marshals to recover the car. After a number of contacts, Josh Files also had to retire. 11 laps into the race, this was when Dusan Borkovic managed to pass Stian Paulsen for third, going through turn 5. After starting from 11th on the grid, Stefano Camini once again stormed through the race with his aggressive driving style. This was when he took 5th by going up the inside of Maxime Potti. And this was 1 lap later when he took 4th from Stian Paulsen. After a very difficult start to the season in Paul Ricard, then missing the second event in Zandvoort and various issues in Spa and Hungary, the Swiss driver finally seems to be back in his comfort zone. With this win, Tashi became the 8th different winner from 10 races in TCR Europe. Azcona and Borkovic finished 2nd and 3rd, while Nage recorded a DNF. Another 4th place meant it was the best weekend of the season for Camini. Paulsen was 5th and Ricard 6th. Celebrations for Attila Tashi, back on the top step of the podium after the 2 wins he grabbed last year at the Hungaroring in the TCR International Series. With 110 points still on offer, the battle for the title remains wide open. Borkovic has a 2-point lead over Azcona, while Nage is 3rd, 20 points down. Tashi and Vinay also aren't so very far behind.
It's a very hard battle for the championship title, because we have a very good and very experienced drivers fighting for the championship. I see we are 3 actually who are very close together, with Azcona, Dusan and me. Yeah, we are fighting, we are enjoying, and the pressure is going up and up.
We are now 2nd of the championship, 2 points only to the leader Borkovic, and I think this meeting was the worst meeting of the championship at the moment. So the next meeting at Monza and Barcelona, I think will be easier for us, for the Cupra.
Hungarian Attila Tashi was only 16 when he debuted in the TCR International Series in 2016. Even though he started motorsports very early, at the beginning he wasn't even supposed to become a driver.
Before I started this, I was playing ice hockey for 7 years. But at one of the summer, I also was my hobby BMX, like bike riding, like jumping and this kind of stuff. And I had a big fall in one of my jumps, and I cracked my skull, and I had to be in the hospital for 1 week. And after I decided that I don't want to really play ice hockey anymore. I would want to try myself in car racing, and that's how it started with go-karting and so on and so on.
In 2017, Tashi made a huge step forward. Not only did he win his first races, but he also managed to be consistent throughout the season, battling for the title till the very end, and finally finishing 2nd behind the experienced Jean-Carl Vinay. What was that little thing which meant he could battle with the big boys?
It might sound silly, but at the age of 17, let's say that was last year, I was more serious about the sport. I took more time with the preparation for the weekend, and this was the main thing which dropped my performance on the top guys.
Zsolt Matix is one of the people helping Attila to prepare for the races.
He's my physio trainer for now 7 years, so he's with me from the beginning of my career. In the last 2 years, he was coming with me all the races, and we are doing kind of like mental stuff, reaction time, like coordination. We are trying to improve it every week at least once, and all the weekend we have let's say a warm-up before all the session to turn on that, how you say, like your eyes, just to warm up yourself.
If you talk about touring cars in Hungary, you have to mention the national hero Norbert Mikelic. How's the relationship with him?
We had a good relationship all the time. Last year, as I was in his team, it was much better, more friendly. We had more talks between us. So obviously, we met more times than before. I never had a driving coach before him. So last year, with his driving style, with his driving instructions, what he could give me from the car, because always my engineers were helping me, but it's totally different when you get advice from a professional driver who is in the car with you, obviously in a different car, but he feels what you feel and he can help you much better. Even today now I'm racing in a different team, but still today we have to contact each other, and sometimes we are meeting, sometimes we go for a dinner or a lunch, so our relationship is the same as last year.
This year, Attila has had some ups and downs. He won the last race in Assen, but even if he is fourth in the standings, he believes he's no longer in contention for the title.
Now it's really tight because Dani, Borkovic and Ascona is in a couple of points. But also, we saw sometimes like the top runners get just didn't finish the races, so it can be very tight. But I would say one of the three guys, one of the three guys will be the champion in this year if something does not happen with them. And for example, me with my teammate Josh or with Verni, we can get some really nice points at that time and they don't get any point.
TCR Germany went to the Nürburgring for the fourth event of the season, and Mike Halder, starting from pole for the third time, took the lead from the start, resisting the pressure from Lukas Niederschreider's Peugeot 308 in the early stages until the Austrian was given a drive-through for a jump start and dropped back. Harold Procik, who'd led the standings from the opening event, was dropped to the back of the grid for an engine change, but recovered to finish 13th. As a result, though, he slipped to second in the standings, 4 points behind Niels Langeveld. Lukas Niederschreider tried to recover after his drive-through, but finally finished only 16th. So it was a lights-to-flag victory for Mike Halder, his second win of the season. Dominic Fugel finished second, making it a Honda 1-2, while Niels Langeveld completed the podium. At the start of the second race, Dominic Fugel's Honda Civic sprinted from fourth on the grid and squeezed between pole-sitter Luke Vankmuller in an Opel Astra and the Volkswagen Golf of Benny Leuchter. The latter moved into second at turn 1, while Oliver Holdener followed him into fourth place, ahead of the trio of Halder, Harold Procik and points leader Langeveld. On lap 2, Procik and Halder overtook Holdener, moving up to 4th and 5th respectively, and 1 lap later, Halder overtook Procik for 4th. What promised to be a thrilling fight for victory was then paused when Daniel Davidovac lost control of his Opel Astra and ended up in the barriers. The crash prompted the safety car into action with 11 minutes left. 6 minutes later, the race was red flagged, and so Dominic Fugel claimed his first victory in more than 2 years after his maiden win at Oschersleben in 2016. Leuchter was second, Halder third, Vankmuller fourth, Procik fifth, and Luca Enschler sixth. TCR Germany continued racing in the month of August. Rounds 9 and 10 took place at Zandvoort. Dutch driver Niels Langeveld of Racing 1 was on pole, in front of LMS Racing's Antti Buri for an all-Audi front row. There was a big crash right at the start in the middle of the grid when Michael Halder stalled, and her Cupra was then collected by the Peugeot of Lukas Niederschreider and the Volkswagen of Kai Jordan. The safety car was deployed to allow the recovery of the wrecked cars. The race restarted on lap 5, with Langeveld pulling away easily ahead of Buri, Procik, Halder and Enschler. The Dutchman then built a 3-second advantage over a couple of laps. Benjamin Leuchter in the Max Cruz Racing Volkswagen was another early retiree from the race with mechanical problems. While there were no changes at the top, Simon Reicher, Theo Koiko, Max Hesse and Luke Vankmuller ran in a tight group while fighting for P6, with Nico Kankinen and Florian Thoma duelling a little further back. There were, though, no major changes, and so Niels Langeveld took an authoritative win in front of his home crowd. Buri was second in front of Procik third, Halder fourth, Enschler fifth and Reicher sixth. For Langeveld, this was his second win of the season, and so he again crucially scored maximum points, allowing the Dutchman to extend his lead in the drivers' standings. At the start of race 2, Luca Enschler kept the advantage of pole on the reverse grid and so took the lead. With Loris Prats, who clearly jumped the start, the field was quite compact going into turn 1, with the leading duo followed by Theo Koikord, Luke Vankmuller, Mike Halder and Harold Procik. Turn 4 prompted the safety car after Langeveld touched Max Hesse, who crashed into the barriers. At the restart on lap 4, Enschler pulled away, and Koikord then passed Prats for second. But further back it was definitely showtime for Langeveld, as he took P8 from Antti Buri and shortly afterwards climbed to P7 after passing Simon Reicher. The Dutchman then had Procik, his direct rival in the championship, as the next target, while Prats served a drive-through for having jumped the start. On lap 7, Langeveld passed Procik with a superbly timed overtaking manoeuvre. The Dutchman seemed unstoppable and soon added Halder and Vankmuller to the list, moving up to third. Luca Enschler won the race, giving Hyundai its first win in the series. Theo Koikord provided the icing on the cake as he finished second in the sister car. Niels Langeveld extended his lead in the standings, now 9 points ahead of Harold Procik. The new TCR Korea series kicked off at the end of August at Yeongam's Korea International Circuit in a joint event with the TCR Asia series. In the first race, reigning Asia champion Kantadi Kusiri had a difficult start from pole and dropped to fourth behind Luca Enschler, Lo Shae-ho and Mitchell Che after contact in turn 1 involving all 4 drivers. Kusiri then began to recover and soon overtook Lo Shae-ho and Che, who spun while running in second. Then Kusiri chased Enschler and snatched the lead from him on lap 4. Afterwards he pulled away, while both Che and Lo Shae-ho dropped down the order as a light rain began to fall. So Kusiri, in his comeback in the series, grabbed the win in front of Enschler and Kim. Indigo Racing's Chu Hoon-hyun led the TCR Korea race in the early stages in his Hyundai, but he was soon passed by Kim, who eventually finished third overall behind Kusiri and Enschler.
And the winning team.
The second race then took place in heavy rain. Pole position of the top 10 reverse grid remained empty as Kang Dong-woo's KMSA Motorsport Hyundai was forced to start from the pit lane, while Lo Shae-ho's Maximum Racing Honda Civic failed to make the grid after suffering from a technical issue in race 1. Alex Liu took the lead of the race going into turn 1, but he was quickly overtaken by Mitchell Che. In turn 2, contact between the pair ended with Liu spinning and losing 2 places. Enschler overtook Che on lap 7 and pulled away, but Kusiri moved up to second and started to close the gap. However, despite his efforts, the Nisa Viper Racing's Thai driver couldn't find a way to pass Enschler, and so finished second, 3 tenths behind. Kang Byung-hyu, 6th overall, took a comfortable victory in TCR Korea, as he led home Kim Byung-hyun's Honda Civic and Andrew Kim's Golf GTI by 33 and 40 seconds respectively. With Kusiri not eligible for points, it was a maximum score for Luca Enschler, who took the lead in the standings with an 11-point gap over Mitchell Che. TCR Russia went to Moscow Raceway for rounds 9 and 10. While pole sitter Klim Gavrilov kept the lead into turn 1, Timur Shigabutinov's Audi and Grigory Burlitsky's Seat made contact. The former lost control and was collected by the Lada Vesta cars of Ladijin and Vladimir Sheshenin, while Pavel Yashin's Cupra spun. The fight for third place was decided at the end of lap 9, when Dudin tried to overtake Dmitry Bragin, but outbraked himself and went off into the gravel. And so Klim Gavrilov, driving a Volkswagen Golf GTI, converted his pole position into his second victory of the season. In second place, the Lukoil Racing Seat Leon DSG of Andrei Maslenikov. Dmitry Bragin completed the podium in the TIAF Motorsport Audi RS3 LMS and extended his lead in the standings. At the start of the second race, Duducarlo and Lukashevich made good use of their front row positions to take command of the race. They were followed by Roman Golikov's Volkswagen Golf GTI, Dmitry Bragin, and the third Lukoil racing car, Andrei Maslenikov's Seat Leon DSG. Bragin then overtook Golikov for third at the end of lap 1 and joined the leading duo, while Duducarlo was able to create a small gap. So it was a 1-2 finish for Lukoil Racing, with Duducarlo first and Lukashevich in second. The current championship leader, Dmitry Bragin, completed an all-Audi podium and moved another step closer to a third consecutive TCR Russia title. Having scored 159 points, he now leads from Lukashevich by 36. TCR UK was at Alton Park for rounds 9 and 10, and Ashley Sutton made a guest appearance in the Verizon Connect Racing Honda of Finley Crocker. Sutton had qualified on pole for race 1 and led from championship contenders Ollie Taylor and Dan Lloyd into turn 1. On lap 2, Sutton was starting to pull away from the pack, but as the cars streamed out of the hairpin, 2 cars were in the barriers after a heavy crash. Carl Swift's Cupra and the Alfa Romeo of Robert Gilmore were clearly going no further, and unsurprisingly the race was immediately red flagged. At the restart, Derek Palmer made a superb start and was second ahead of Taylor into turn 1, while Lloyd was only 5th after a poor start. Taylor was determined to pass Palmer for second place, but ran wide and allowed Lloyd to pass him for third. Both Palmer and Taylor had picked up time penalties for infringements, however, and so while Sutton took a commanding victory on his TCR debut, it was Lloyd who finished second, ahead of his West Coast Racing teammate Andreas Beckmann. Palmer finished 4th ahead of Lewis Kent and Jessica Beckmann. It had been a superb display of driving by Sutton, who became only the 3rd TCR UK race winner after Lloyd and Taylor. Race 2 again saw Sutton start from pole after the Cupra of Carl Swift was judged to be too badly damaged to repair. Again it was Sutton who led into turn 1, but this time it was Kent's Hyundai that was second, ahead of Jessica Beckmann. Jessica soon lost that 3rd position to a determined challenge at the chicane by Derek Palmer in the Alfa Romeo. The Swedish driver was then lucky to escape undamaged after clipping Stuart Lyne's Cupra while rejoining. Palmer's challenge was soon over, however, as brake problems meant the Giulietta ended in the barriers. Championship leader Lloyd was keen to pass Lynes for third, but the pair made contact for which Lloyd was later penalised. The incident also meant Taylor could see a chance to pass Lloyd, and a brave overtaking move meant the Honda snatched third away from the Volkswagen through the circuit's fastest section. A slight mistake from Lewis Kent in the penultimate corner of the final lap then allowed Taylor to snatch second in the race's dying moments, denying Kent his best result of the season. Ash Sutton was again victorious, with Taylor's last-minute passing move making it a Honda 1-2. Kent was third ahead of Lloyd, Jessica Beckmann and Lynes.
Fantastic to see a full grid again today. Well done, guys. Forward to that first race, all 33.
The result means Taylor is now 78 points behind Lloyd with 4 races remaining, and a possible 182 points still on offer. The Pirelli World Challenge's 5th event took place at Grantsville's Utah Motorsports campus. Brian Herter Autosport's Michael Lewis, starting from pole for the first time, kept the lead into turn 1, while his teammate Mark Wilkins, starting from 3rd, had moved up to 2nd, overtaking championship leader Ryan Eversley. The close fight for 5th between Mason Filippi and Michael Hertzin ended in favour of the latter when the challenge from Filippi's Honda Civic began to fade. So it was a lights-to-flag win for Michael Lewis. Mark Wilkins, who followed him closely for much of the race, eventually crossed the finishing line 2.6 seconds behind after struggling while lapping some back markers. In the second race, Lewis and Wilkins started well from the front row and began to pull away, while Ryan Eversley, who stalled while third on the grid, dropped to 7th behind Michael Hertzin, Matt Fasnacht, Jarrett Andretti and JT Kupal. After the bad start, Eversley began to recover. 9 laps into the race, and this was when he overtook Fasnacht for third. But after that, he wasn't able to challenge the leading duo, despite a safety car period that regrouped the field towards the end of the race. For Michael Lewis, this was his second win of the weekend and 4th of the season. Just as in the first race, Wilkins, Eversley, Fasnacht and Hertzin were 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. But this time the 6th spot was taken by Filippi. In the drivers' standings, Eversley still leads, but Lewis has reduced the gap by 10 points. With one event still remaining and only a 7-point advantage, Eversley must still fight to take the title. TCR Racing series all over the world are approaching the climax of their seasons, and crucial races for the various title fights will take place over the coming weeks. Join us next month when some of those titles will have been decided, but for now, it's goodbye.